This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed by the host of My Brain is a Wonderland are exactly that, views and opinions. This is Emily Ruth Henderson, and I'm the host of My Brain is a Wonderland, the podcast for neurodivergent women and the people who love them. In 2020, after a hellish pandemic, I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Surprise! Now, I am passionate about reaching other women just like me who've been pushed aside, ignored, and misdiagnosed for far too long. Each week, I discuss my experience navigating my 30s with these two life-changing diagnoses. There'll be highs, there'll be lows, and everything in between when you join me for Season 3 of My Brain is a Wonderland. Hello everyone and welcome back. Thank you for being here. I just want to start off by apologizing. I honestly don't know if I've missed 1 week or 2 weeks. I think what I did is I missed the Friends episode, which was last week, and then I missed this week's episode. And I just want to apologize. I recorded the Friends episode and deleted it by accident, which kind of sent me on a spiral. Not really a spiral, but like I don't have time to do this again. Like, I had recorded it the night before it was supposed to come out, and so it really was like, I don't have time to do this again. And then just kind of fell off, and with work and everything, just was like, I cannot do this. If you've been listening, you know that work has been a huge stress. I'm also in my final semester of grad school, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to explain to you guys, and I think all of you would understand this. Does anyone else experience this when one part of your life starts to get overwhelming? So that could be work, school, personal relationships, maybe you have kids, and then everything falls at the wayside. Anything you love, enjoy, do for passion, or like you can kind of get by, but everything else falls away. And by get by, I mean you can wake up, you can exist, you can maybe if you have kids, get your kids to school, pick them up, but you're kind of like a zombie. It's like you can't cook food, you're too emotionally, mentally, and physically drained. You can't work out, you can't have relationships with people, and you're just kind of like in this overwhelmed state. And that's how I've been. And unfortunately, the podcast was affected by that. And I'm releasing this on an off day, not a day when I'm supposed to release it, because I just wanted to get something out there so that everyone understands where I'm at and kind of can give themselves grace as well. One of the things I say, or there's a few things I say that, you know when you've lost your mind, or I know when I've lost my mind, when I start eating my fingers a lot. So they're like bleeding, they're all scabbed, it's really bad. I'm writing on my hand, because I always say I can't lose my hand. I mean, before I was diagnosed years ago, I would come away from work and in life and just have like 10 lines of writing on my hand. Things to remind me to do things I had to get done, things I was anxious about that I needed to do. So those are two of the things that have been happening lately. Not showering, things like that. And I've just been so overwhelmed, guys. I need school to be done. I need it to be done. I'm no longer excited about it. I'm no longer passionate about it. I'm no longer kind of like, oh, yay. I'm like, I just need you to be done. I need you to be gone. Please go away. Work is, you've heard my episodes about where I'm like, oh, I've created a space for myself. I've created a life that is easier so that I can thrive. Well, that's gone out the window the last couple of months. And it's not saying that that will be what it is going forward, but right now and in the last couple of months, it's been really not that way. Hasn't given me space, required extra hours, no stopping, not being able to take lunch breaks, things like that. And so I've been so overwhelmed and stressed out. And even the idea of recording this episode, even, I was like, I don't, because I'm recording this on a Friday. I'm not sure if I'm going to edit it tonight and be able to get it out Friday. Maybe it'll come out this weekend, but honestly, I have so much schoolwork to do this weekend, which I used to be able to do on the evenings, right? I would come home and do schoolwork on the evenings, but because my work has become so stressful, I'm not able to have the energy to do it on a weekday. I used to use my lunch breaks at work to do my readings, things of that nature, plan what I was going to write for, say, a discussion or an essay, and now I'm barely having lunch breaks. So I'm not sure when this is going to come out. Hopefully before Wednesday, and hopefully I can get another episode recorded this weekend and edited for the first Wednesday in April. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support in all of this. I know, I don't talk to most of you. I don't interact with most of you, but I can always feel that you're there. And I just want to give a huge shout out also to some of the supporters, or one of the supporters that has contacted me recently. I haven't responded to what she sent me, but I wanted to give her a shout out here. And her name is Kelly Dean. If you're listening, Kelly, I did get your email. It was very long, classic neurodivergency, and I super appreciated it. That wasn't a criticism. That was just an acknowledgement that you put in so much time into that email to express everything that you've gone through with yourself and your kids. And I am going to email you back and respond to your questions. I think there's one or two in there, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for reaching out. It really means a lot, and I love connecting with all of you in any way possible. Again, if you want to email me, it's always in the show notes. My brain is a wonderlandpod@gmail.com. You can reach me on Instagram, on TikTok, and if you would love to leave a review, I would love to read it. That's another way to connect. And I super appreciate what everyone writes, and I appreciate any time I see an uptick in those reviews so that I can know that this is, I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm making the right decisions and making it happen. And if you haven't reviewed me, as always, Spotify, Apple, especially Apple. Most of you listening are listening on Apple Podcasts right now, and I have more reviews on Spotify than Apple. So please throw down a 5-star review. You don't have to write anything. Just do the 5-star smash. But if you do write something, I will read it out on the air, because I think we all need to come together as a community and support each other and listen to what people are saying and how this discussion is affecting people. So thank you for everything. Thank you, Kelly. I will be reaching out to you soon. With regards to this episode, I'm not going to be finishing the series that I was doing. I think it's the masking autism. I mean, the fact that I can't even function and remember what that last episode was about just says it all. I couldn't even, when I was thinking about recording this, the idea of having to look up the website again, figure out where that's how overwhelmed I am, guys. And I think that happens for us a lot as neurodivergent people. It's like one brick crumbles and, we're like a Jenga set, right? Like you pull out the bottom brick and it all falls down. And the bottom brick, or the bottom three, and the bottom bricks are like work, school, right? And so those have both been pulled. And so the whole tower has come down. But I just wanted to get on here and do an episode, connect with you guys, and kind of get into something else I've been thinking about. I actually got an email recently about, you guys might know attitudemag.com. I use them on one of my series episodes, and they are a long-standing kind of online magazine for people with, it's ADD, so ADD, ADHD, neurodivergency. And they actually developed I believe, 10-question survey on loneliness. And here's why they did that. They said that in one of their surveys of over 4,000 adults with ADHD, nearly 2/3 of the respondents aged 18 to 29 reported feeling lonely always or often. So, of course, that they're not comparing that to neurotypical people, right? Because, of course, there's neurotypical people who feel lonely. But 2/3 of people feeling lonely always or often, I'd like to actually see a comparison on that. But we're going to kind of assume, or I'm going to assume and go forward with the idea that probably if you're neurotypical, you do feel lonelier than the average, if you're neurodivergent, you do feel lonelier than the average neurotypical person. In general, you feel it more often, more intensely. So I wanted to go through these questions, and I guess I've been feeling a bit lonely too lately because I'm so overwhelmed. I don't have friends. Work has become, like, everyone there that I work with, and I love most of them, it's all work stuff, right? We're all connecting over work. So we're not, because we're all so stressed, it's always like a discussion about what happened at work. This is crazy, blah, blah, blah. It's not a discussion about, what did you do this weekend? What's your favorite movie? What did you, 3 days ago, me and my husband went to see Dune Part 2. If you haven't seen it, oh my God. Like, if you like sci-fi or movies or anything on the planet, it is one of the best sci-fi and movies I've ever seen in my life. I told my husband, this is up there with Blade Runner. It is incredible. But these aren't things you talk about at work right now because we're all so stressed, right? But I just wanted to go over these questions, and you can take this test too. It's called the loneliness test on attitudemag.com. I haven't taken the test, but I'm going to walk through the questions with you. So the first one is, I often feel quote unquote out of tune with the people around me. And I love how they use the phrase out of tune, because I think these kind of, what is the word for it? It's not actually saying what it is. You could say, I often feel disconnected, right? But they're using a turn of phrase, right? Is that an idiom? Out of tune idiom, maybe? That I kind of relate to. That's something I would use. I would say I'm out of tune with other people. And I do often feel that way. I feel like people are talking about certain things, and I'm sitting there sometimes going, why do I care about this? Why does anyone care? I remember working with women, and this is not to say this is a female thing, this could be a male thing too, but I remember, working with men and women, and I'm in my 30s, and they're in their 20s, and all they talked about was dating sites. It was all they talked about. And that could also be an age thing. I'd already been married. But even when I was in my 20s, I don't know if this is also an age thing too, that, dating sites weren't as big of a thing when I was in my 20s, but it's all they talked about is swiping here and there, how people responded, being on Bumble, how they didn't respond. It was just exhausting. And I was like, I don't know why we're talking about this. Can we talk about, I would beg for a conversation about the weather at that point. It was exhausting. And so I do often feel out of tune with people around me. I do often feel what I am interested in or what I want to focus on, no one else does. No one cares. No one, and when I say no one, I just want to say, I'm not talking about my husband. I'm not talking about my sister-in-law, who is one of my closest friends and part of my family. But really, other than them, maybe my mother-in-law, I do feel this way. And I find it very difficult to be in tune with people, to have that kind of chemistry where I don't feel like I'm masking, where it just feels natural. So the responses to that can be strongly agree, unsure, disagree, strongly disagree. I often feel out of tune with people around me. I would say strongly disagree. I mean, strongly agree. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm on another planet right now. I'm telling you. I can't even read straight, see straight. It's crazy. So I often feel I would strongly agree, because often isn't like all the time, but I often feel, yes, I strongly agree with that. The second question is, I feel like I lack companionship. Absolutely agree with that. You know, me and my husband, we're together most of the time, and I love being with him. We vibe, we have chemistry, we like a lot of the same things, blah, 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 blah. But I don't have friends. I don't have someone I can call up and just say, hey, like he came to see the Barbie movie with me, and he loves movies and he enjoyed the movie, but I would have loved to have seen it with someone who was like screaming about it, right? Like there are certain things that you're kind of like, well, that's what I love to do. You would join me and do it because you love me, and it's not like pulling teeth or anything close to that. But sometimes you want someone who like loves the thing that you love, and you can just do that with them in this kind of friendly way. Or that we can be in a group together. You know, my husband doesn't really have many friends, or he has like one friend in the town that we live in. He has a couple of other friends, but they live out of state or like hours away. You know, he has more friends than I do, let's put it that way. But it would be nice to just have more options, to have more like my husband's at work, or my husband's tired and doesn't want, whatever. I'm going to go out with this person. I'm going to go here with that person or whatever. And I just don't have companionship in that kind of way, which I notice. I notice that. I feel that sometimes. And then most of the other times I'm like, I just want to be alone with myself or with my husband. So, God, I don't know. All right, third one. I feel isolated from others. Absolutely. Sometimes I look around, sometimes I feel like I'm connecting with people, and then I look around at them connecting with other people, and I'm like, I don't think I'm connecting the way they're connecting. And I can't tell if that's a jealousy thing, or if that's like I am actually like, wait, we didn't connect like that. Did we connect like that? Did we have as good a time? I don't know. Like, am I connecting at all? And then I start to feel isolated. If people are going off, like doing their own thing, like I thought I was super friendly with this person at work. We were driving to events together from work. We were hanging out a lot, not outside work. It was all work stuff, but like going to volunteer day, going to events, traveling out of state together on the same plane and hanging out and getting drinks after. And then I just found out that this person was having happy hour drinks once a week in my town with 2 other people at work. And I was like, well, we've never hung out outside work, like ever. And then I was like, why wasn't I invited? Do I not make myself open to be invited? Is it a status thing? And by that, I mean at work, it can be complicated, right? Like they were not my boss. They were in another department, but they were a higher position than me. So maybe they felt like, oh, even though, you know, I'm not your boss, I'm a higher position than you, I shouldn't be hanging out with you. I have no idea. And I just remember hearing that and I was like, ow, okay, so we were hanging out a bunch. I thought we were vibing, blah, blah, blah. And then apparently you're having, you know, happy hour drinks once a week with people in my department. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just thought, man, what did I miss? What did I miss there? Why, you know, how did I not see that? And I don't have the answers for you guys. Don't have the answers. Okay, the next question is, I don't have many people to whom I feel comfortable turning to at any time. They didn't put the 2 in there. There's a typo in there. I would agree with that, but also not agree with that. I'm like a word vomit type person a lot of the times, and I naively, especially at work, open up to people too quickly. I think at work, it's a prescribed relationship, right? So there's boundaries, there's descriptions, expectations. I find it harder to open up to people in, say, the real world because there aren't boundaries, prescriptions, and expectations. You're just like getting to know each other. But at work, it's like you go here, you sit there, you're this person, I'm that person, this is my position, blah, blah, blah. And at work, I actually feel really comfortable, sometimes too comfortable talking, saying, you know, this, that, swearing, talking about my life, talking about taking drugs. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on the podcast before, but that kind of stuff. And I don't have people, though, in my personal life. And it's actually a problem at work, because if you open up too much at work sometimes, that you can suffer from that, and your work and your position can suffer, right? You have to be careful depending on where you work. I do have my sister-in-law, other than my husband. My sister-in-law, me and her, we talk 1 to 5 times a week. We live about 2 hours away from each other. And I feel super comfortable around her. Really, really comfortable. But in general, no, I don't have many people that I can be that way with. Next question. My relationships are not as satisfying or meaningful as I would like them to be. I agree with that. Especially in friendships, right? Like, I want to have, it's so complicated though, guys. I want to have a meaningful friendship with people. More than one person would be nice, but also, like, don't demand a lot of me. I remember in high school, my best friend, it was a guy, which maybe made it a bit easier, but it was a guy, and we used to meet every Saturday at the bus station in my hometown in England at noon and go and see a movie, which I found so satisfying and easy, though, because it was like the same time, same place each week, do the same thing. It wasn't like we had to think much about it. We didn't have to like go through all this rigmarole about it. It was just like, we're going to meet here where we know, same thing, same time, all good. But I think as you get older, people want more varied, dynamic, interesting relationships. And to me, that's just a lot of pressure. You know, my husband made a friend at work, and she became like my friend, but not really. She's still just through my husband. We don't like hang out separately or like talk or anything like that. And she asked like a few days ago, so like maybe on like the 20th of March, said, hey, will you come to my birthday party? It's on the 20th of April. And my husband's like, do you want to go? And I was like, dude, a month's notice, I'm in. A month's notice for a place I've never been to, with someone I kind of know who's going to invite a bunch of people I don't know in a sensory overload environment. Yes, I can go. I have a month's notice. This person usually will say on a Wednesday, would you like to come out tomorrow? With a bunch of people you don't know. And I'm just like, I can't do that. Like, if I knew the person very well and we were going to a regular haunt, that would be a different thing. But I just really want more like meaningful relationships. But what people need for a meaningful relationship is so much. And I actually did join Bumble at one point to try to meet other women with ADHD, or just other women, right? And so the women who were neurotypical were like, okay, back and forth. Now let's meet next week. And I was just like, what? And then there was one woman, or a couple of women, one in particular I'm thinking of, who said on her profile, and I did too, I have ADHD. And then she went back and forth with me and then ghosted me. And I was not insulted at all. I was just like, yeah, makes sense. I did the same thing to all the neurotypical women I responded to. And I really think that I need to connect with more neurodivergent women for friendships, because we understand that, look, I'm not available for the next month to 2 months, or, you know, you can't ask me to go out tomorrow. That's too soon. We get that. And we're also not offended by it. Like, if you don't text me for months and then text me, I'll be like, hey girl, what's up? It's fine. But to get to that point, you have to spend so much time with somebody to get to a point where you're actually friends with them. So that was like, the Bumble thing was just like a dead end, to be honest. And then they were like, now you need money to blah, 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 whatever. All right, the next one is, I feel a general sense of emptiness. I've definitely felt that and felt that in the past. I don't know if I feel a general sense of emptiness. I don't know that I would strongly disagree, but maybe disagree with that. I don't feel empty. I have a relationship. I have my dogs. I have my job. I have my hobbies. I have this podcast. I do have, some relationships. So I wouldn't say I feel a general sense of emptiness, but if you do, I totally get it. I have in the past. I think when, I remember in my first year of college, had no friends. This was before I met my husband. My first year in college, I spent almost all of it alone in my dorm room. Or we were actually in like an apartment with 5 people total. And I did feel empty. I felt empty, alone. I'd moved away from home. Not for the first time. I traveled, lived in Asia for a few months, things like that. But this was the first time I was like, okay, I'm leaving, and I did feel empty. So I totally get it if you feel that way. All right, next question. I don't feel like I'm part of a group, like friends or a community. Yeah, I would agree with that. I did feel that a couple of years ago. I was at a job with mostly 20-somethings. Like, they were mostly like 8 to 10 to 15 years younger than me. But I vibed with so many of them. We would go to drinks after work. And even when I got my new job, I would hang out with them, come meet them for drinks in the same place. You see that? Drinking in the same place, same time. Like, it didn't have to be weird because I was already doing it. I'd already done it and was used to it. But I don't have that now. I don't have a community. I don't, we don't do that at work. We did set up a hangout with drinks and like dinner or whatever for the 5th of April with my work people because we're so stressed. But that's not a regular thing. Like it used to be at this other job. We would go and like have a couple of cocktails at least once a week. At least. And hang out. And we weren't talking about work the whole time. We were talking about like the movies we loved and the relationships we were in and the things we were dealing with. And I do miss that. I really miss it. And what happened there, basically, is the main person who I would kind of arrange it, and then I'd come, and then they'd bring the other people who we used to work with, and blah, blah, blah. They just stopped texting me. And I've texted them. I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to look on my, let's see, I got a new cell phone. God, actually, I can't, this is so bad. I can't even remember their name now. Oh, wait, I just remembered. See, out of sight, out of mind, right, guys? Okay, so here, I sent 2 messages on July 11th, 2022. Didn't respond. And before that, they had responded, let's see, on July 11th. So we had talked back and forth on July 11th. 11 days later, on, oh, no, wait. Sorry, guys, I'm a mess. I'm so sorry. So we responded back and forth on July 11th. Then I said, and the last 2 messages are from me. So I put a message and then another message. Didn't hear anything back. And then sent a message in August 2022. They never messaged me back. And then my husband actually said, maybe you should message them again. Like, this was a few months ago. Like, as a, just reach out and be like, I'd love to see you, da 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 da. But now it feels weird, and it probably feels weird for them. But it was just upsetting that they just ignored me after that and then didn't reach out. And it's been difficult. And honestly, I'm reading the next question and now totally feeling that. It says, I often feel rejected or left out. I mean, yeah, that's how I feel about this whole thing. I could send another message, and maybe I will. My husband encouraged me to. It's been 2 years now at this point. It's 2024, almost 2 years, because it was July, August 2022. We haven't seen each other, though I feel like if we did meet up with each other, it would feel just like You know those friends you don't see for months, talk to for months, and then it's just like it was when you hang out with them again? But I feel not left out, but a little rejected. A little bit like, okay, you didn't, like we were talking and then they just never responded, and then hit them up again. And actually the last message was, I can't make it to your birthday party. I think someone messaged me. Oh no, I knew when their birthday was because I'd been to their birthday the year before. And I said, I can't make it because I'm in Miami Beach, which I don't think they should feel rejected by that. If I just said, no, I can't make it, fair enough. But I said, look, I'm in Miami and we live in Central Florida. So I can't be in Miami and go to the party, but they never responded. And I just don't know what that's about. I mean, maybe they're neurodivergent. Who the hell knows? The penultimate question is, I don't feel close to anyone, or statement. I don't feel close to anyone. That's not true for me because I have my husband and his family. But before I met my husband, before all of that, I didn't feel close to anyone. I didn't feel close to my family. I didn't have any friends. It was very difficult to get close to somebody. It's easier in college or at work. It's kind of like they say, like, to learn a skill is 10,000 hours. It's something like to become close friends is like you have to hang out for 10,000 hours or something, which if you're an adult and you don't go to school with them and you don't work with them, good luck with that. Like, good luck becoming a close friend. Like, that's tough stuff. And then the final question is, I feel like no one knows me, the real me, that well. I would agree, not strongly agree with that, because it says I feel like no one knows me. There are people who do know me. My husband knows me. My sister-in-law knows me pretty well. My mother-in-law knows me pretty well. My mom we're estranged me pretty well. Not in a way that I felt, but in a way that she was like, yeah, you don't like this, you don't like that. In a way that a mother does. That they've watched you grow up and they're like, yeah, if you do this thing, they're not going to like it. Or if you do this thing, they are going to like it. But I feel like most people don't know the real me. People at work, it takes traveling to an event where we can let loose, where I feel like they actually get to know the real me. And actually the responses are always like, you can tell everyone's very gracious, but you can tell they're like, wow, I had no idea you were like this. That I seemed restrained, just not who they thought I was. And they'll be like, wow, you're actually quite cool. And I'm like, thank you. I guess that's a compliment, you know? So I encourage all of you to go on attitudemag.com and take the loneliness quiz and just see where you sit, and maybe it'll give you some perspective on who you are, how you feel. I mean, even if it says you're 100% lonely, maybe that could, I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know what the results are, but the assessment criteria, but that you could say, okay, I am very lonely. I need to do something to change this. And for me, as a neurodivergent person who likes prescriptive things with boundaries and, expectations displayed, to get to know people, go to a class. It's the same day, same time with the same people. You're learning something. You're not like, hey, I just met you at a bar and what the hell do I do right now? That's honestly what I recommend. Go to a dance class, go to an art class, go to a food, making class. And I recommend going to a class repeatedly. So if there's a series you can go to, it's like, if this is an 8-week, 6-week, 4-week class, go to that. Because you'll see people more often and you'll bond over the thing that you're doing. And then could potentially be mixed into the, group of, hey, we're going to go get drinks. Like, do you want to come? And when they say that, you say yes. Obviously, if you're going through something and you can't, don't. But don't be the no person. Here's what happens when you say no. So someone is going to reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to do this? And you say, no, I can't right now. They might reach out to you one more time and say, hey, do you want to do this? And if you say, no, maybe next time, they will never reach out to you again. They will not invite you anywhere. They will not think of you at all. Unfortunately, with these things, you need to be like the yes person up front or you're dead to them. And not in a way that they're mean, just in a way that's like, oh, they're not going to say yes, they don't want to come anyway, so I just won't think of them. So try to be that yes person if you can. Try to put yourself out there because it's the only way you're not lonely. And try to find places and spaces where neurodivergent people might be. You know, sci-fi conventions, art classes, dance classes. Things that are a little off-key, cultural-wise, you know, a little niche, active, things like that. That's where you might find your people. And again, guys, I just want to thank you for being here and listening to me and supporting me. And I hope that this has helped you. And I am going to do my very best over the next couple of months while I'm still in school and work is developing to keep up with this podcast. Please still keep listening. I appreciate all of your support. And I'll see you again next time, hopefully this coming week on Wednesday, for another episode of My Brain is a Wonderland, Season 3. Bye-bye.